Sorry, we're a little late starting, just catching up socially. Hi, sorry, Mr. Call. This afternoon, I was working, but I'll call the meeting to order for 6. First thing we will do is approve our agenda. Look okay to everybody?
I'm making a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Gray. All right, the next thing is our invocation. Do you mind?
Sure. Oh. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you provided for us, your fall splendor. And we thank you that we have the blessing of living in it and enjoying it. We ask you to bless our county, bless this leadership. We thank you for bringing us good leaders. Guide our conversations, grant us the wisdom we need to do well to support our residents here in the county. So bless this time in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. As for my comments, I think I'm gonna ask 2 questions. One to our new Director of Finance. How's it going?
It's going. I think County Administrator kind of caught you here earlier. For what I've been here a month and a handful of days now, spent the vast majority of the time the first few weeks trying to figure out where I work, right? Trying to get a feel of the land. But then after that, just immediately jumping into creating the budget document. Obviously, it got approved on May 15th. The document itself had not been completed yet, so I'm essentially building that from scratch, piece by piece by piece. I've done it plenty of times in other localities, but I was always a part of the process for the development, so doing it on the back end is a little bit different. Thankfully, everyone in the county thus far has been great as far as resource if I don't have the information. But long story short, that should be done this week, and then at that point, it's just going to be editing and then getting as many eyes as possible on it, and then it'll be posted for review on the website. And then other than that is audit time. So I'm getting all that done at the same time.
So the next supervisors meeting in October, will we get that then, or do you think we'll have it before the next meeting?
So the budget document?
Yeah, on the 23rd or 16th, I guess.
If not, it'll be closed.
Right.
I guess I mean it's the 16th. My apologies.
Barring something unforeseen, it should be finalized by then. Whether or not it's printed and binded and all of that, I think we've got to work through those details, but it will be finished by then for sure.
I'm sorry, which budget document are you talking to?
Current year.
Current year that we're in?
Correct.
Oh, they haven't published that.
Yeah, so the budget is completed. We have all the data, but in terms of presenting the budget document, which is not just the numbers, there's a lot more information that goes in that document than just the numbers.
As you remember, yeah, commentary and
It's a 400+ page document
It's right
we're
there.
talking about.
yeah, that's probably last year's.
Is that the draft or is that last year's?
No, this would be last year's. Right? What's the year on that one?
The budget, I think, is about that, 6.
Yeah, it's 400+
400
pages.
plus pages.
And it's not online either.
Not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
And my second question, I guess is for Mr. Robertson regarding the government shutdown. Does the county have any effects from our national mess?
Other than having to endure it daily, we're not aware of any specific impacts currently. And I posed this question to our staff last week to let us know if we're starting to see things like slowed reimbursements on grants or projects or programs that have been suspended, or any other types of impacts. We have not seen that yet. Hope we won't see any of that. Obviously, for those employees, though, who are coordinating with federal partners, there's nobody on the other end of the phone right So again, are there impacts? Yes. Are we having any of our projects impacted by that or anything? Not to date, but if it extends for a long period of time, we're bracing for the impact.
Another question, Jim. A great deal of the grants that we get from the federal government come to the schools. And we're kind of aware of them at the county level, kind of after the fact, because we're not part of the application process.
Well, we have a lot of grants that the county deals with as well. Transportation, some of our projects are, it's pass-through money, but the ultimate source is the federal government. Some of our law enforcement grants. Again, a lot of what we see at the local level is actually federal money that's passed through the state to us. But we're seeing some, like I said, not direct impacts yet, and we hope that we won't see direct impacts. But for example, we have a couple of projects that were congressionally directed funding. The old word was, these are earmarks for Isle of Wight County, one being the water tank at the hospital. There's grumblings and rumors that some of that funding might be impacted. We haven't seen that yet. We pray that doesn't happen. But those are the kinds of things that we're hearing about. And right now, if we call to try to find out, is that valid information, is that accurate, there's nobody there because they're not working right now.
The reason I'm asking the question because I know that there are a lot of immediate smaller grants that the schools get. And I was wondering if they're experiencing anything.
Well, we have all the title grants, Title 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I would say combined it probably covers about 25 to 30 staff people. So of course those positions, they're working, but not knowing whether or not those funds are going to come through. We still have not gotten word of Title 1, which is the largest grant. So that's something we're still waiting on. We also get money for meals, through cafeteria funds, and we have been told that the claims for September and October should be covered, but anything after that, they're not sure. The other thing that I know, Impact Aid is not producing any disbursements right now. That's not a very big source for us. We normally don't see that till around December, so that's not affecting us right now.
Thank you.
What is Impact Aid?
It's where we get money back from the federal government, and it's based on the number of children that attend our schools that their parents are in the military. So we get some of that money. It's about $300,000.
I will note one additional thing that is kind of on the radar, but we won't know for probably the next couple of months yet. Local spending.
Yeah.
We see tax revenue that is based on local spending, and we track that. Typically, the reports that we get or the information that we get is a couple of months delayed. So, again, the fact that people aren't getting paid for the next few days, weeks, potentially months, could have a direct impact on our tax revenue from the standpoint of local spending.
Sales tax.
Sales tax, exactly. So again, it's not a direct impact in terms of are we seeing anything right now, but it could have a very real impact on us in the not too distant future if things don't change.
So it's a great point there from Mr. Robinson to take that one step further. Not just the sales tax, but also if this continues to drag on, people's ability to pay their real estate. I think the next one's due in December, is that right?
December 5th.
December 5th. And if some people start getting to extremis, that could affect our collections on real estate, which we're a cash flow operation, so that would be an issue as well. Do you have any sense, Dawn, for how many people in the county, what percentage of people in the county, they're either direct civilian employees of the federal government or military people, people that work at Langley, people work at over at shipyard, naval station? Do you have any sense for that? I'm sure it's not insignificant.
It's not insignificant, but I couldn't quantify it in terms of numbers of employees or numbers as it relates to tax revenue that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's an estimate we can come up with, just maybe bound the problem in a worst case.
So when it comes to impact aid and how we figure that or how we make our application, we send out a flyer. Pardon me?
No, I think you all do a survey though.
Yes, we do a survey and it's getting ready to go out in October, but we had 400 children that responded to it last year. We're pretty confident that there are a lot more than that, but only 400, the parents filled out the form and responded to
So
it.
those are children of active duty personnel that they domicile with?
Correct.
Okay.
400 out of, what's your number, 5,600?
But Lisa, would that account for civilian,
No.
children of civilian?
No,
Yeah,
active
that's,
duty.
I think
It's
that
just
goes to
active
Mike's
duty.
question that,
And the civilian is there's probably more,
yeah.
especially here, right? So,
I was gonna say, I could call the Office of Personnel Management and get them to give us a number, but they're not answering the phones.
Yeah. Suffice to say it's a lot, right? If we're going by the percentage of 100% disabled retired veterans real estate tax, write-off, being that I think we're the 5th largest locality in the state
How many
for that
households?
number.
How many households is that again, Don? 700?
I have not asked lately,
It was.
but it's significant, yeah.
Sorry, man.
No, you're fine. Yeah. All right. Well, those are the two things I wanted to just bring up. Next is approval of meeting minutes. So thank you, Mr. Robertson. You're probably looking to hand minutes over to Mr. Webb at some point, right?
Yeah, if he doesn't know, he may get this one as well.
Well, meetings are recorded. You can go back and watch the tape and do the minutes. But yeah, that's good. Thank you. So motion to approve the minutes from September. Did you all get a chance to glance? Thank you. Mr. Grice? All in favor? Aye? Aye. Great. All right. Minutes of the September meeting are approved. Before I forget, we are going to, as we agreed last time, skip November. And then we'll meet the first Monday of December. Just so you have that for your calendars. I'll look up that exact date in a moment. So next on to unfinished old business. For those of you who were here last time, Mr. Stanton, welcome back. Thanks. I know you had to be away last meeting, and Supervisor DiStefano is missing today, but he actually will be off the committee because he's not running for re-election. So you can look forward to onboarding a new supervisor after the election in November. So hopefully for that meeting in December, we'll
December
have
1st.
another representative. Sorry.
December 1st.
Next one.
Oh, that'll sneak up on you guys. So thank you. December 1st, very important. You know, when the first of the month is on that day,
that's right after Thanksgiving.
you gotta be careful. Yeah. Is that bad? Do you think people will be gone?
Bring leftovers, fine.
Bring leftovers? Okay. Okay. All right, so for unfinished business, one of the things that we did, as you can tell by the minutes last month, is Treasurer Sly came to our meeting and, she had given responses to our questions that we had formulated about, the Treasurer's office and how they're doing and how are things looking for the audit, et cetera. We'll talk about the audit process and things under new business, but I think, Mr. Ball, we only got to about 5 of the questions, right? We didn't.
Between the two meetings, I don't have my consolidated list here. We covered a number, but there are still some that weren't covered yet.
So, well, let's see. So the first is before the 5th, so she won't have all the tax money in yet. So perhaps, would you all like to invite her back December 1st?
We love having her come.
Okay. So we'll ask Ms. Sly to come back December 1st. I wanted to brainstorm and just use some of our time today to talk about what kinds of things maybe we would like to see as an audit committee or things that we could suggest when it comes to metrics, right, or benchmarks. Because a lot of times, we submit questions and she gives an answer and we take a serendipitous route, so a nice way to say it, and we end up around the playground and into the park and then, get an answer of what they're working on. But, I really think as an audit committee and as auditive citizens and as the board of supervisors, that it would be nice if we had red, yellow, green, right? If we had kind of a scorecard. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I was envisioning. I made a few notes from our last meeting when she came to visit on the 8th of September. I thought we could just throw some of these out there. I know, Mr. Floyd, you had a few suggestions and have some experience for your previous position. Mr. Webb, if you have anything to add, I know you're not, sitting here on the dais, but love to hear everybody's, suggestions as to ways that we can help them. Give the treasurer's office expectations of like, well, here's where we think tracking X, Y, and Z could, see our way clear to add an FTE or, whatever. Just determine what the workload is, right, for this function. So I know 2 meetings ago we reviewed, what are the functions of the treasurer's office versus the finance department and things like that. I've got this here in my stack. But so some of the things, I'll just throw out things that I have, notes on. I think I have 5 things listed. Certainly we can talk about each one individually and then you all can add ones as you think. But the first one I wrote down was collection percentage. And obviously we had been conditioned or used to receiving a report under the previous treasurer of collection percentage for real estate. When Ms. Sly took over, that function of the reporting was, I'd say, A, inconsistent, until B, Ms. Wells took that over. And part of what the discussion prior to this meeting was, and it's under new business, but we can talk about it now. The last report that I've seen on collections is from April. And not to put Mr. Floyd on the spot, but I will, it's on his to-do list. So the last collections report that we have as a county to really see how we doing, collections, whatever, from June 5th, this, that, and the other is from April. That doesn't include that time period. So perhaps we could talk a little bit about collection percentage and the importance and how we think that guides our decisions and our financial health. What do you think about that, Mr. Floyd?
No, I agree. Without knowing what we're collecting compared to what we bill, it's difficult to make financial decisions short-term and long-term. Myself and the county administrator were talking about that earlier, actually in my office, about collection rates and the importance of differentiating between what the 99% that were discussed. I believe it was mentioned at the last meeting, 99%. That's not 99% of the current, what we're billing in the current year. Typically what I've seen, and I was looking at some today actually before the meeting, some of the other localities across Virginia, they'll do collection rate for real estate over a 20-year period, because that's how long you have to collect over this 20 years for real estate. For personal property, you have current plus 5. For real estate, you have current plus 20, just for record. So delinquent taxes past that, you can't collect on. But so whenever you see in the ACFRs, you just look in there and show the collection percentages. I think the last one for 23 was what, 96.0 or 96.07 or something like that. We were looking at it earlier. That was for the current year. But then a couple of columns to the right, it'll show the total amount collected, which includes delinquent. And then that'll show you the overall percentages. And that's where your 99% comes into play. It's your current plus all your delinquents. So I think differentiating between that and identifying that, yes, you may have a 99% collection rate, but it's not for the current bill that just went out 3 months ago, if you're looking at it in February or April. So that's important to look at it.
So if we were to try to set a benchmark, I know Mr. Grice, being a former supervisor, has some experience with reviewing the collection reports, and I know how strongly he feels about the collection reports and how it drives our ability to govern. So I'm sure you're going to get a comment on that in a second. But perhaps if we look at collections, it is a 2-part number, right? Like delinquent, right? The 20 years, and then the current plus 20 and current plus 5. But then also a more rolling 12-month kind of current percentage, right? If we suggests that there's really two benchmarks here. So maybe it is 99% or above, right, for delinquent, but maybe the number, maybe we'd like to be at 97% or 96 if that's what's reasonable. I do think, as I reviewed past years' collection reports, we hover in the most recent period around the 96%. Certainly you don't want to go under that. I don't know if you agree, Mr. Grice.
Absolutely, because, we run the operating budget on cash. And besides the collections, there was also a cash report. You may be bringing this up shortly.
Yep, that's the second.
Okay, but those two reports provide the cash report is really quite simple. It's how much cash is on hand and how much of it is committed and how much of it is available. You can't touch the committed monies. So do we have enough cash on hand? And that indicates whether or not we're going to get through the next billing. It is incredibly important right now with the closure. Are we getting the cash flows that we're looking for? Now, the billing cycles are such that we're probably only we're not going to be collecting a lot of monies other than some fees, et cetera, between now and December. And that's minimal. And that typically wasn't part of that report. It was real estate and personal property.
I'll find one of the ones that we have most recently done, and then obviously, we're not meeting in November, but December, I don't see why we couldn't have those reports.
Yeah, it's really important for the board to have an idea of where we stand on an ongoing monthly basis at least. And we only meet twice a month. If you're 3 months or 4 months trying to react to a report, you're behind an 8 ball right off the get-go.
Yeah. So Mr. Floyd's been here a month. He knows that he's kind of reconciling how to do this. Regarding the collection percentages, would it be 99% on delinquent if we just suggested a benchmark, 96% on current? Is that for both real estate and personal property, or do you think the benchmarks lend themselves to differences depending on the type?
When they report them together, so combining we could report on them separately, but they'd be combined for financials.
On the last report, there were 2 different segments. And I think, like you said, it would only go back 5 years, but the percentage after 5 years is so minuscule.
Yeah.
Okay, you might have a line for the combined 15 years behind that, but I think it's such a nominal, and the chances of collecting it are minimal.
So separate or together? Real estate and
Separate funds, they're billed separately, so you should be, and the revenue sources are posted in different spots.
okay. What does everybody else think about collection percentage as a
Question.
measure? Yeah.
So, Robert, from your experience, are those relatively competitive numbers, good numbers from what you've seen historically?
So, I was talking to county administrator this morning again, and the percentages that I've seen reported in the act for here are higher than anywhere I've ever seen.
So it's a good thing.
So that is actually really good indicator that we do things right here.
And then the second question is, since it's not 100, how do you deal with it in the budgeting process?
So I wasn't a part of the budgeting process here, but I've been doing this for long enough. So, we obviously, whenever the commission revenue gives you your assessed values and your tax rate, and it tells you what the hypothetically 100% collection would be from a budgeting standpoint, what I would say we would do, we've been averaging 96, 97% across the board for those revenue sources year after year, so you would budget accordingly. So you would do 96 or 97. Now, if you're trying to target 97, you've never hit 97 before, it probably wouldn't be in your best interest to budget 97 the first year. You maybe incrementally increase it, but here, like I said, the lowest I saw was 96.07, and that was several years ago.
And the third question is, what does 1% represent in terms of out of white?
1%.
1% lack of collection on an annual basis. Keep it simple. Big picture, round numbers.
Well, it depends on whether you're looking at you have to look at it as a portion of the stream of revenue. 1% on real estate, okay, is a much bigger number than 1% on personal property.
Yeah, so real estate.
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, it's a pretty easy number for us to find, but yeah,
You gotta find the right page.
it's actually fairly close to the front because it's gonna be on the revenue.
Oh, yeah, it's in that book. I was just gonna try to look up the line.
It's probably a curiosity question, I think. Is it a big deal, little deal?
It's a big deal, because it's cash and.
Well, it's millions of dollars, like
That's your primary
Percentage.
source
Right.
of revenue.
Real estate, said it's gonna be the higher number, for sure, significantly higher than the personal property.
And personal property has cars and so on and so forth. So a lot of that, it typically has a smaller collection number than 96. It's down in the 93, 94 range, or lower. And because there's always the transition and the movement. Houses are pretty easy to track in commercial properties, but it's cars and trucks and other associated property is a little bit more difficult.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Floyd, the number 96 or 99, whatever we talk about, is that the percentage of paying properties, or is that the percentage of the value that we forecast in real estate tax base?
So, I'll answer it this way, so the percentage of the 97, 99, that's based on what we build, which is gonna be based off of your assessed value plus your tax rate, any rebates or adjustments that are accounted for in there, and then balance that against the amount of money that's received.
Thanks for clarification. Great. Back to Mr. Grice, you talked about the importance of cash flow and knowing where we are on a regular basis. And as I think about these metrics, Chairperson, I'm wondering if, when we get a collection percentage, it's always in the rearview mirror, and we could be in a traffic accident. I'm curious if there's some leading kind of metrics around this kind of dynamic that we could identify to forecast that we're going to run to a red light.
Like economic indicators?
Maybe not that sophisticated. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. Sorry for the colloquial term here in an official meeting, but like I said, I'm concerned that when we get these numbers, they're always in the rearview mirror, and we're in extremis at that point when we find the data. Is there something that we could look ahead? We call it a leading indicator sometimes, that says you're gonna have a problem in the next month or the next 2 months. So I don't understand the treasurer office process well enough to know that, but if maybe some smart people like Mr. Floyd might have some insight on that.
I have to think about that one, to be completely honest with you. I've never even thought about it from that lens, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that's almost in the forecasting.
Right.
And
Well-
we need the basics done first.
Well, a couple of things. Spitballing is a good term. But local government's a little bit different than some organizations in that we have 2 times during the calendar year when we're gonna see a fairly large influx of our revenues. June 5th, December 5th. And you don't know on June 5th or December 5th how much you took in. You'll find that out in the weeks after that. So it's hard for us to say that there's a leading indicator or a real-time indicator. Most of what we do from the standpoint of understanding our financial situation, there's some lag time involved in it. That's just the reality of what we deal with. So I'm kind of like with Robert. We probably have to do a little bit of thinking to see if there's something that might give us a good indication.
I don't think this would help indicate future trends or anything like that, but what we could even do, and I'm adding more work to my plate that I'm gonna add on here, but we're talking about the revenue and the cash, but we could equally come back on a monthly basis and provide a spending report from a year-to-date standpoint as well, to put things in perspective. That, just because we may be lacking or quote-unquote behind budget on revenue, but if we're behind budget on expenditures, then it's, I don't want to use the term no harm, no foul, but it's less impactful as if we're halfway through the fiscal year and we're 75% of the budget spent, but only 50% received. So does that make sense?
That could be deceiving too.
Correct, because it's cyclical.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from a general fund standpoint, theoretically, obviously some of the other funds with projects and stuff that are timed, that would be a different conversation. I wouldn't want to do that with the capital budget.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
that would not be it.
that's a little different, but from a general fund standpoint, minus those major expenditures that are
Yeah,
scheduled for
general.
a certain time, we can track that.
That would be the downfall, would be looking at expenditures that are once a year
Correct.
and they fall in a particular cycle. Okay,
Or like
so.
Mr.
and
Barry
then-
was talking about.
But it's good to know if, let's say, you have a one-time major expenditure that's due middle of December, from a cash flow standpoint, we wanna know where we were at. So that's why I brought that up.
Mhm.
But the whole 1/12 of the fiscal year, looking at it at the end of July is not
Yeah.
realistic. We know that's not the case. And anyone that does that, I feel bad for them that plan that way, but at least to put it in perspective at that date where we're at here today.
Well,
But-
I'll take an action ship person to just to study on this. There may be something at the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, maybe they have some economic indicators that are specific to our region. They may have a dial right now looking at what's happening with salary rollbacks due to the shutdown. So I'll take a look at that and see if that may be something we could work with. Again, I'm just trying to make sure we can steer clear of the traffic accident instead of being in a traffic accident.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, and I think it would be very positive, is following the economy, particularly through the cycle of the federal government being closed down. Because if it's an extended closure, then we ought to be looking at, do we defer penalties on paying your property and real estate taxes on December 5th? And it's gonna have to be a long extension, but should it be, then I think that's something that we should do some forecasting on. But other than, otherwise it would be hard to predict. And you're gonna have to predict it very close to the time you're gonna be reporting it anyway, to have any relevance.
I'll just add something on, looking at a spending report. One of the reports we provide the school board on a monthly basis is like on the general fund. We always tell them at what point or what, the percent of budget that you have spent year to date, and then also do it for the same time frame a year ago. So you can see if your spending levels have changed when you compare it to the same time frame a year ago.
And I'm sure that's online, but that's not something that's given to the supervisors.
Yeah, I always
At this
include
point.
that as in the report. I tell you what the current one
Actually,
and what it was this time last year.
actually it has been, because I think we give a quarterly report from the chief financial officer, do we not? Was it quarterly or every 6 months? I forget.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of it.
We would get a report from the chief financial officer on either quarterly or a 6 month basis, semi-annually, on where we stood on the budget.
Oh, yeah, quarterly.
I think it's quarterly.
We would do that quarterly, but
And that would
again,
be the
it
similar
was
report that you're
more
getting.
on general operating expenses. You don't factor in capital and all that stuff, so.
And it's principally to identify anything that's out of whack.
Correct. And that was kind of where I knew that we had done them quarterly. What I was saying is, and realistically, I could do that monthly just from the standpoint of tracking and everything. And like she was saying, I've done those before, and it's not just the current year, because you want to put some perspective to it, and you want to put previous years. With any caveats of each year is different, right? So you'd have to take into account, timing of payments and things like that. There was a big expenditure in this department in August of last year that we're clearly not gonna have this year, or it was a payment that should have been made the year before that's not made in this fiscal year, so now your numbers are skewed. So it's not exactly a science per se, but I mean, definitely something that we could do. And then realistically, looking at something like employment rates across the country and then comparing it to Virginia and then comparing it to Isle of Wight. When we were in Richmond, we did a monthly report that included all of that, as well as, business licenses that were put out, new businesses that came to the city. Obviously, Richmond was robust. There was a lot of businesses in and out, so that kind of information was requested from council. I'm not saying that we do that here, but unemployment rate might be something that we could look at as well, just as we're looking at the federal piece. Although that's also lagged in the report's a couple months in arrears as well, so we wouldn't see anything realistically until December anyway, at the earliest. It doesn't help our December 5th date.
Does 45 million sound right for real estate tax levy? I mean, I'm
What I
just
look,
looking at
what I think I found, it says general property taxes for 24, 70 million.
70,
Then
so
they're combined.
45 is probably half the year.
And that's a combined number.
Correct. That's gonna include your personal property.
No, that's general property, then sales is next, then consumers is next, and other taxes is next.
So that's real
Well, maybe
estate
it's
and
a roll-up
personal
number.
property together.
Yeah, but the property that you're talking there, it's gotta be both real estate and general property.
70 million, so 1% of 70 million.
700,000.
Good.
That's significant, in other words.
Yeah, we love math and public.
I think it's what, 760,000 is a penny on the real
Okay,
estate
it's
tax?
roughly 700,000,
I
so
mean,
that
you-
number's,
About right.
yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that because the number I know is a penny, not a percent, and we're talking about percentages, not pennies.
It's about the same, right?
It seems to
Quite
be,
interesting, that it's about the same.
now it seems to be about the same, I guess. Mhm. So, metric number 1, collections, right? Split out with benchmarks for delinquent and current, which, in looking back at previous reports that we used to get, because I just pulled up the last one that we got as a supervisor body, it seems like we've been doing that all along, but I think to call attention to that and put it on a, stoplight report, I think may be helpful for the treasurer and for us to kind of track that office's performance. All right, number 2 that I had was number of staff development hours. Obviously, we've been talking to Ms. Sly about new staff starting, right? Part of the reason that some of the functions she was unable to do in periods of time was because fewer FTEs, or she's hiring new people who need to be trained and sent to things. And you know how it goes, right? When things are kind of frenetic and crazy, what kind of, are you going to grab the house plant on the way out of a burning building, right? Probably not. And sometimes staff development hours seem to be in that same house plant category. So I only have one actual living house plant. The rest of mine are plastic, just FYI. I'm terrible at keeping them, so I may grab that one since I've kept it alive this long if the house was on fire, and that's not going to happen. But okay, so staff development hours I was thinking about, and I don't know that we can set a benchmark for her, but to suggest that we're interested in the ongoing education of her team. Maybe she can set a benchmark and a regular green stipulation and provide that, and we can track it with her and make sure that the treasurer's office understands that we are committed to educating the team in the office. Thoughts?
Related to that, Chair, you're working around chairperson, working around workload related kind of stuff in the office, and again, I don't know enough about how the treasurer's office does things, but they have some basic processes in there, some basic intake, throughput, output processes. What's the cycle time for those basic processes? Is it 8 hours? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah, that kind of goes to my number 3 metric because, and that's an activity log of some sort.
Vacancy rates, those kind of things you're talking about.
I can't read my writing, but it says activity log, but I don't know, coin system or something. Does that make sense? Is there?
So there's a state system for constitutional officers that's called a coin system.
I was right. She says that they reported that.
They do. I don't know I'm not sure how effective that would be as a metric for their overall work plan because anyway, I don't know.
They only do it once a year, that's during the.
Right, so
the
we're
budget
talking about,
time.
it would be like a monthly. I'm sure you have to collect it monthly if you're gonna report it once a year. I mean, you gotta collect the data anyway. So your thoughts on coin system?
All the information that they input into there, they realistically have to be tracking it somewhere, to your point.
Right.
I forgot exactly what the measures were. It's all about the workload, the productivity of what they were doing, number of X, number of Y, number of Z's, all of those kind of counts. But And I was kind of going there, I'm glad you mentioned it, because to me, we were talking about lockbox, one of the meetings, and to me, I would like to know, similar to what you're talking about with the measures of what volume is paid via X mechanism, Y mechanism, or Z, how many cash folks we have coming in, do we have an online portal that we can go in and pay, how much is mailed in, because that would determine, exactly, really what the workload looks like on a daily basis realistically. Because if all of them are, if everyone's walking in, and I'm in the halls, I don't see a lot of people coming in, right? I haven't been here on tax day, I don't know how that gets. But I reserve the right to change my opinion on tax day, because everyone and their mom's here, I get that. But on a daily basis, what does that flow look like?
That leads to my number 5 metric, which I had written, which was increased percentage of online payments. Obviously, if you have more online payments, it's going to flow into your system. Nobody has to sit there and, post a payment, et cetera, and cash a check. So is that a good measure or a good goal, we would say, is try to make it so that citizens are able to pay it online? It seems to be a no-brainer, right? But you say it's a no-brainer, but I think we've had issues with that because of Tyler Cashiering and Munis.
But one of the problems there is online how. If I'll pay online if I don't have to pay the fees on my credit card.
Yeah, she spoke to us about that. Tyler Payments is up and running. It's $1.50 charge for ACH payment. So $1.50. That's not worth your gas to come down here. And she had said they would consider on-hold messaging and notes on the treasurer's webpage to try to market that as a vehicle for payment.
That's a good measure. It's just, I would caution from having tried to transition in multiple places with that goal. I think it's good to want to push folks to that. We also have to recognize our tax base as well. Because there's a large subset of population that's literally going to write a check for everything that they do. And regardless of how accessible we make it to the folks online, where they can do it on their phone and on the computer, this, that, and the other, they're still going to want to write that check. And some folks are still going to want to come walk down to County Hall and get a receipt. Right. So I mean, that's one thing to be aware of.
I think because Tyler Cashiering is relatively new in this locality, that some level of marketing and awareness, with some level of marketing awareness, we could increase the percentage of online payments, which again, I think is good. We could suggest it to her and see if she agrees. Obviously not everybody, it's just like calling I work in AI, so calling an AI assistant that answers the phone in your doctor's office. Not everybody wants to talk to an AI assistant. Most people don't. But, you can say agent and get to a live person, right?
Well, on every tax period, we got it twice a year. Not everything is some of it comes in once a year. But if we looked at that in the context of having a report, maybe twice a year, on how much of the tax revenue came from each source, and we look at it now for the next couple of cycles, we can determine if we want to move in another direction. So maybe just ask for it twice a year, and then set some.
Look at payment source, so online versus check versus cash versus payroll deduction or
Dropbox, whatever.
with the ultimate goal to
Determine which is the way. If you're going to market something, you got to know what you're marketing to.
Well, you have to know where the floor is, right?
Yeah.
You want to go for a goal and hit the ceiling, you got to know where to start, where the floor is. Yeah. So if we like increasing percentage of online payments, perhaps we could suggest that. This kind of goes without saying, like bond payments made on time, reports submitted on time. I mean, should go without saying, but we expect on-time submittal of required documentation, I would guess, as well. Thoughts?
Sure.
Have we had any more bounced paychecks? I know the last couple we had were in the schools, so we're good on that. We want to try to avoid that too, obviously. Yeah. So we talked about the coin system, activity log, perhaps reported monthly, understanding that this is an annual function currently. As far as another goal, not really a measure, but a goal, Ms. Sly indicated that she was interested in looking at trying to get bills emailed. Do you know of any other localities emailing bills? I mean, if I could get a bill emailed and click on a link, or even upload my credit card and just have them take it.
We got one this last cycle.
You got an email?
We got an email bill. Yeah, for the payment due this December, we received an email bill. Yeah, we were surprised, but.
From Island County.
I'm assuming when you go in and create an account, whenever you go to pay, then there's an option for you have to put in an email address of some sort, I would imagine, and that's probably how it's done. But did you opt into it, or did it just come?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of support the chairperson, so I'm all for electronic.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. No, I mean, seriously, it's just like online surveys and everything else. You make it easy for people to do it. I know for my health bills, I use my chart, right? So everybody in the area uses Epic as a EHR. And hospitals have you go ahead and load an ACH or a credit card number. And then every time you owe a balance, they'll say, do you want us to charge this against your payment on file? Sure. So do we have the ability to do that in Munis? Do we know? Or Tyler Cashiering, I guess. Like that you could load a payment source. Everybody does that now. Power company, Columbia Gas, Verizon. I mean, every bill I pay, pretty much, they go ahead and take it.
But holding, somebody's banking account information, credit card information, there's more security that's gonna need to be involved. I'm trying to remember what the term is.
PCI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's costly.
Yeah, unless you're PCI compliant, you can't even take payments over the phone. Do we take payments over the phone? I'm guessing not.
I don't know that they do in the sense that I think you're thinking about it.
Be another way to get more money. Get it more quickly, I guess. Okay, so collection percentage, staff development hours, coin activity log. She had set a goal, was trying to get bills emailed, perhaps, increase percentage of online payments. Ms. Sly did indicate she would consider on-hold messaging, so I don't know, if anybody have any knowledge of our telephony system and if we could work that out?
For what specifically? Because
Just any message she wants to put out, so anywhere in the county, you put somebody on hold and then they're like, Alamance County's great, don't you wanna pay your bill before December 5th?
Oh, to have messaging while they're
Yeah.
on hold. Okay. I'd have to ask, because our current system is starting to age, and so IT's been talking about an updated system, but I don't know if our current system has that capability.
Okay, well, I took it up, maybe you could find out for us. Like what happens, has anybody been on hold to the county, does anybody know? What happens now when you call?
Rings.
No message.
We try not to put people
That's
on
just
hold
your
if we can help it.
They've got your screen.
Your number's blocked there.
Almost every department.
Yeah, just curious, has anybody been to the treasurer's webpage?
By how?
Sorry,
What'd you say?
anybody been to the treasurer's webpage, have we looked up online
I have.
how we present, yeah?
I was late paying something.
Yeah.
So I went and paid it online,
Okay,
I believe with a credit card charge.
do you remember a good UX, good user experience?
Oh, I
You got it
remember
done.
you had to sign up for your account to be visible, to be able to do it, so it was a multi-step thing. You had to get a unique account number compared to your billing number. I mean, it began to be complex, but you follow through with it, and it worked.
Okay, well, I'd urge everybody to go and do that and look at the website. So those are the notes that I had written down as far as goals or measures, metrics. We did not talk about cash yet, so cash balances, and I think, Mr. Graves, you all used to look at unencumbered bond balances or something too.
No, that was the capital.
Capital.
And that was the other report I think that's absolutely essential, because I remember a meeting in 2016 where in the fall of 2016, the previous chief financial officer stepped up and said to the board, this is the first time in 12 years, and by the way, this is public record, 12 years that any board has asked me about capital. That should never happen again. We used to get a monthly report on the capital, where it was invested, and what was the interest being earned, and how much that interest was, because there's limitations on what you can do with that interest. You can only use it for a similar capital event, and or you can use it, which I don't think we've ever done, to make the payment.
You're talking about bond balances, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's bond balances, cash accounts, where it is, okay? What bank it's in. You want to know that kind of stuff.
Yes. So it's also on your list?
Yes,
All right, fantastic. Other thoughts on metrics and things that anyone can suggest that might help the treasurer's office?
Well, as you know, Chairperson, from your executive experience, your performance metrics should flow from your vision, your strategic objectives. And we've asked that question a few times, we haven't got an answer. So maybe we can build what her strategic vision and objectives should be based on some of these performance metrics we're trying to drive in. So just kind of come full circle on that thought there.
Yeah, I think we've had a slide to the meeting several times now, and I'm not sure that we've gotten a distilled version of what the exact objectives and vision is. I think she's still formulating it. Would that be your son?
Still formulating this.
Yeah. But maybe we're better at homework when we have 2 months to do it instead of just 1 month, right?
Possibly.
Yes. Secretary Vaughn, I,
Sort of seen that.
would, be willing to meet with her about the objectives and strategy and perhaps present some possible metrics, again, to assist the efficiency of the department before our meeting December 1st. I'll say that, you have to help keep me on track.
Okay, that's a big chore.
I know, it's a lot. So, other things?
And just to not to beat the dead horse, Chairperson, but I do think there's some fundamental basic processes that they run in that office. I don't know what they are. Something around processing. If she can just identify what those processes are and just start measuring, is it a week, is it 4 weeks, is it 3 hours? But that helps to drive the FTE discussion when you understand what the demand signal is for those fundamental processes. And also, as she drives in efficiencies, can you drive down those cycle times? So, sorry for the industrial engineer thinking, but that's how it was kind of some of these discussions.
Yeah, that was the exact thing that was coming to my mind as you were talking about that, is industrial engineering, just kind of work step, process, workflow, evaluation. Do we have a function in the county do we have any industrial engineers? I don't think we do.
Not intentionally. I mean,
You have
Probably more
industrious
than-
engineers, you have industrious engineers,
yes,
industrial engineers.
I was probably gonna be more civil than industrial, just from the standpoint of what we do.
In the hospital, we always use industrial engineer, but it might be different on this side. But yeah, that takes a lot of time, right? As you know, to document the process, and it really takes like sitting with someone. I mean, this is your kind
It
of,
does.
this is your shtick.
Yeah.
All right.
I think one thing that we need to be keep in mind is that when we set these parameters and if we ask for reports and so on and so forth, reports take time.
The what?
They take time.
Yeah.
Okay? And as a consequence, you gotta make sure that the the report is giving you the information that you make decisions upon, not nice to know. Okay? You can ask nice to know questions and have it fed to you as needed. But you really, if you're gonna have the staff doing reports, you wanna have them doing the reports that are absolutely essential to the business of the county.
Yeah, which out of all the things we just talked about, collection percentage, cash balance, and capital report are it. Honestly, these, how many people are getting bills emailed, how many people are paying online, how many people are going to staff development, those are like nice to have, right, as far as
So they can
reporting.
help you make decisions in the future, but you need to accumulate the information, and you can do that on an irregular basis. But you've gotta have report, where your money is, you better know where it is, or you're not balancing your checkbook.
Yeah.
And by the way, in capital monies, you can have $70 million out there floating around at any given point in time. That's a lot of money. Now, I don't think we are sitting there at this juncture. I think we're sitting probably closer to 20 or 25. I don't know for sure. But I think that's where we are because we haven't taken any bond issues lately. But
that's coming up, right? Tomorrow, the board of supervisors has a strategic planning retreat. You'll be happy to know we're doing a strategic planning retreat all day tomorrow. And followed by at 4 p.m. we'll have a joint meeting with the school board. So it'll be a 2-meeting day. And so, strategic vision, right, is supposed to drive CIP, drives budget, and what the board and the staff feel like are priorities. And so then if it's your priority, just like if it's your report, that's where the attention should go. If it's your priority, that's where the money should go. You should be able to, follow that. One of the questions that I was going to talk about, and I don't know really where it fits, but I guess we can talk about it when it comes to metrics, so still under this action item, is percent of funds, leveraged, or percent of funds in unassigned fund balance. I know we had set, right, a goal of how much money to have saved kind of in the fund, and I think we need to look at that. Like, where are we? I think when last time I talked to Ms. Wells, we were well ahead of what our policy says will be. But I feel like we need to check that again. Obviously, it's been some time. Is that a good descriptor of that? What's the term for that we have a policy for?
reserve.
Yeah, so just
Unreserved fund balance.
reserve fund balance,
Unreserved.
unreserved, or
I call it.
unencumbered fund
So
balance.
for us, I think it may be the unassigned.
It's the other side, right? Yeah, I just looked at that yesterday, I couldn't take the numbers to save my life, or Friday.
Where you can call it what I called it for 8 years,
Yes,
rainy day fund.
right. I tried real hard not to say that, but
Yeah,
yes,
it's percentage of to that, yeah, I was just looking at that, and based on the adopted budget, obviously, we still have the 25 audit that's on deck right now, so those numbers are not null and void, but for the sake of conversation, they are what they are, we're well above, well ahead of policy right now, knowing that the audit's coming, and we'll have updated numbers on that, of course, which will then give us new percentages.
I guess the other number that we have a policy for is, and I should know this, is debt percentage.
Right.
So, to what percent we're leveraged.
Right, and that was in the adopted budget as well, I do not have that on me right now, but we were above, I think it was, I want to say one of them was 6 and one was 14%, but we were above both of those.
I mean, below the debt one and above the
Correct.
unassigned one. Yeah.
In a positive.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
normally a percent of your assessed values.
Correct. And then the other one
How
was-
much?
It's normally a percentage
Yeah.
of your assessed values.
The other one was percentage of your expenditures.
I think I remember 6 and 14 also, so that's good memory. Okay, anything else under old unfinished business? Secretary Ball and I will take an assignment to get some time with Ms. Sly before we meet December 1st and invite her to come to the meeting. Okay. New business, we've talked about this a bit already, the need for cash balances and collections reports that, Mr. Floyd, if you had to take out your crystal ball, your goal is to have those done by.
Target is working on it for the December meeting. Obviously, if something comes up to where I run into obstacles, I will get with the county administrator long before then.
Yeah, I think the Board of Supervisors would probably love to have it by our regular session in November.
Gotcha. I thought you were on the purposes here, but yes, we did.
Yeah,
talk
no,
about
I mean,
the next meeting.
What we get here is like a filter down, the people that really need it is the board, yeah. Pretty sure that's the 20th of November, yep.
We'll see how the audit's going.
Right.
You get it before then, email it. I mean, I've had it emailed to me before, I mean, we're all on the county email system, so.
Are we still receiving, is the board still getting on a monthly basis the bond balance reports or capital investment?
No, we've had no reports since April.
Well, you know what you got in capital numbers?
We just take a wag. Yeah. Yeah.
So, let me manage expectations. First of all, Mr. Floyd's been here just a few weeks, so he's getting there. The other thing though is the audit is the only way that we will have a real view of where those numbers are as of June 30. So I know everybody likes to have numbers in real time, but that's not quite the way it works for us. But we should have those June 30 numbers hopefully in a few weeks.
Well, it has been the way it's worked for us all the time that Mr. Grice was a supervisor getting those reports, but that kind of stopped. When
Those
the
were
treasurer-
guesstimates. Those, if you're talking about the monthly reports on the unassigned fund balance,
Yeah, but that's something that the previous treasurer's office, that's why it kind of comes, it's germane to this discussion, because we're speaking about duties of the treasurer's office and the previous treasurer, or someone would do those reports. And so,
Well, I think having a 90% accuracy or 80% or 95% accuracy of whatever these reports are supposed to be reporting is better than not knowing anything at all. And, you know, we can just caveat any report by saying it has been audited, it's still a moving target, but in 6 months, we could be a shoal water.
again, we know roughly where we are during the year, but if you're asking for us to report on something that you're going to rely on, again, we need to make sure that we have reliable numbers that we're working from, as opposed to, anyway, we'll get you there in a few weeks.
well, and maybe if the requirement is to make them more reliable, which is always a good thing, maybe that's a quarterly report if it's more accurate. I don't know. I would like to have it every month. I know that's what you had to make decisions on, was every month, but
Now, I'm trying to manage it from the standpoint of, you're asking Mr. Floyd to give you a number, and he would have to base it on somebody else's guess. I'm not trying to do that to you all or to him. I want him to have a real number, and then he can work from that forward, and he'll give you a good number moving
so we won't
forward.
get any of those reports till after the audit is finished.
That's what I'm suggesting.
So, like,
you will have a good
January.
working number. Oh, it won't take that long.
I
But
mean,
you
we
will
get the
have a
audit
good
report
working
first of
number.
December usually.
Here's the difference in the reporting that we were getting. I didn't expect it to be 100% up to date when we were getting that capital report on interest and so forth, although I expected it to be fairly accurate at the time, some point in time, because it's a moving report. So you close it on a particular date, you know what's in a bank account. You know what interest is being paid up to that point, and where you've got it invested and what kind of return you're getting on those investments. But once a year, you're gonna sink it, so it gets back into balance. The reason why it was very, very important, at least from my aspect, is I knew what projects were coming down the road. You looked at it from what payments. I'm not looking at operating costs, I'm looking at capital projects. You know, when we were doing the intersection on 10, and 10 in Brewer's Neck,
So
we better
again,
know what we got in the way of cash, and we better know where it's coming from.
everything you're saying is accurate. You're exactly right. What I'm saying is, in order for us to do that moving forward, I don't want to go back and use guesstimates. I want Mr. Floyd to work from an actual number that we will have shortly, and then we can give everybody actual, or not actual, but better estimates moving forward. If we try to give you a number today, it's going to be based on a number that I don't feel comfortable with, and he wouldn't know.
Here's the difference. Our reports came from the treasurer's office.
Again, I'm going to rely on Mr. Floyd to have that information. And I hear what you're saying.
I didn't call our chief financial officer on capital monies and bank accounts and so on forth. I went into the treasurer's office and I sat down and I talked to her about it.
I hear exactly what you're
And
saying.
a board member should be able to do that.
I-
And right now, we can't do that.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, Ms. Clive doesn't feel like she has the resources to do those reports, which is why Ms. Wells has been doing them for the last, well, however long she was here in 2025, after Ms. Slide took over. You know, this issue is at the crux of why we exist as an audit committee, because I think we were seeing some kind of fall downs or failings when it comes to reporting and tracking and getting the board and our citizens accurate numbers to survive and exist. So I know it's frustrating.
So I think the difference is also that what we got from Stephanie and previous financial directors was where we are in expenditures. They're looking at expenditures, they're writing, everything has to go through them to get to be paid. Same thing, they're reporting revenue streams, but quite frankly, that's on a day-to-day basis. We got our reports not from the financial director. We got these 3 reports from the treasurer's office. And why should we have any other expectations?
Because it's not on the list of state mandated things to do and she refuses to do it, is the answer.
And that's unacceptable.
And so even as an audit committee, I don't know what our recourse is or what we suggest. We can invite her to the meetings and make nice and meet with her and give her success metrics. I'm not sure what our response is
Leverages.
or leverage, right?
I believe that's an elected position.
It is. Many years at a time. How long is the term? 6 years?
4.
4 years. Not even one down. 3 to go.
She elected?
No, she's this is her second
Oh,
year.
second year? Okay.
She's in her second.
Not even 2 down. But we're not even halfway.
But at the same time, I think the process we've been following is we have some sense there's progress, and thus we should continue to do what we do, but keep going deeper and more specific as you're sort of getting into, right? We've done the general.
That's all we can do. Yeah. That's all we can do.
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty, next item is audit process. I wanted to hear from Mr. Berry and Mr. Floyd about how that's going, upcoming meetings, where we're at with that.
Schools, we have a couple of things left to get our books into what's called full accrual. And we are waiting on a couple things from the finance department, but we're pretty much done. And so the auditors come the week of November 3rd, I think it is. So we get our statements to the finance department so that they can finalize their statements.
And we should have the answer for you tomorrow. For what she was asking.
Plus another reason why we cancel November, because you all are in the thick of audit during that time, so you're important to this committee.
From a county standpoint, we're working on very similar to what she was saying. We're working on the year-end transactions and adjustments we've got to do in the system from the accrual standpoint, closing everything out. We're still on pace as it stands today on October 6th to be on time with the audit. We are, staff is diligently working their portion of it. Each individuals have their portion of the pie, so to speak, and they're, on a daily basis, we're checking in, everything's getting inputted correctly and uploaded, saying that it's complete, working with, third-party folks. There was, the virtual group that was working with us, we're meeting with them on a weekly basis as well. And, not to scare anyone if we need to talk on a daily basis, me and her talk on a daily basis, but we have a scheduled weekly meeting with updates where we, kind of keep each other apprised on what's going on. And like she was saying, the auditors will be here on first week of November. As it stands again, I'll say it again, as of October 6th, we're trending to where we should be complete on time.
How about opening the new year to get budgets in, because I know
Right, so
we're trying to get,
right,
you know, our purchase orders or requisitions entered for the capital projects that the county is funding, and
so part of the process is the
Can't do that.
year-end close for the previous fiscal year. We're working on there's some entries that were out there that we're verifying to make sure they're accurate, and then once we're done with that, we'll be able to do the closing.
can't you do any temporary budget amendment, just so we can get our requisitions in?
Let's talk and let's see, because we're able to see everything on our end. I don't know what would be different on y'all's.
There's no budget. We can't enter a requisition until there's a budget in that line.
Interesting. I'll get with Marina on that, because y'all should have been ahead of it as well. But this was pre-me for the record. Typically what happens is if the books aren't closed, you still have the budget for the next upcoming fiscal year. Now the current fiscal year, and it typically uploads the budget amount for that year. Evidently y'all are not showing.
Not on your side, our budget, everything is
Okay. Then that's something we'll
school
work
side.
on. I was unaware of that part, so that is news to
Did the budget start July 1st, October 1st, seems late to me.
Typically that's done, typically you wanna get through about mid-August, that's your accrual time, 45, sometimes 60, depending on if you're a 45 or 60-day accrual. Typically September, first week of September is typically when you want that done. Middle of September if you run into some obstacles, but definitely October 1st. We're a little behind on that process, but again, there's some minor things that we're working on from an entry standpoint to make sure that those are all correct. I came in the middle of the fiscal year had already started, so I'm just trying to make sure that everything, all the ducks are in a row before we do the closing. We don't wanna close the year incorrectly.
But you can have
Soft close, for sure.
but you can have the next year's budget, or right now, the fiscal year 26
Correct.
budget can be in
Correct.
units.
That's what I'm saying. Ours is on the county side, so that's what we'll
So
figure
you
out.
mean you're operating,
Correct.
just not in the capital side.
It's there as well.
I think your school-
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the county side, I'm seeing everything that you're not seeing, so that's something we'll have to work through, figure out why that's
Cause
not.
we have to do those projects that are funded through the county, we have to enter the recs
Okay.
on your side of the units, not on ours.
We'll work through that together then. We'll get that resolved ASAP, because I know we're able to do everything on our end, so that's
Yeah, I mean,
already
like buses,
going.
we went ahead and ordered them, cause we had to get in line,
Right.
place that order for those buses.
Supply and demand, right. Well, hey, that's a good call out. Thanks, Mr. Berry, for that. I'm sure you'll follow up. Mr. Floyd?
Absolutely, yeah, I was
quickly.
unaware of that, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, anything else for the good of the order? I'll go around the room. Anything else anybody wants to say, or maybe has agenda items or thoughts or comments about either today's meeting or what you'd like to talk about in December? Starting with Mr. Stanton.
No, ma'am, comprehensive meeting, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Grice?
I'd like to make sure that we invite the treasurer back.
Yes, sir. Mr. Robertson, can you invite Ms. Sly to the meeting December 1st? Thank you. In the meantime, Secretary Ball and I will include you if we're able to get a meeting to speak with her about metrics
Okay.
before then.
Yeah.
I've said enough, Secretary Ball?
No, ma'am, nothing to add, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Floyd?
I have a correction, it's not that the budget is not in there, until they close the year, we can't pay any of the invoices, so like, if a bus was delivered, we can't pay it until they close the year, because we need to receive it against a 26 purchase order, so. I mean,
When do we
Stand
usually
corrected.
close the year?
I do ours the first week of August, so.
But you're trying to verify, because you're the new guy, trying to make sure like, your ducks aren't in a row, at least they're in the same pond, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure we're in the same,
But that's
same
what,
vicinity at this time.
that's what I've been hearing, is that
Okay.
we can't receive because the year hasn't, we can't post the 26 expenses until Munis is closed.
Equally as bad, because it still means you can't buy anything until you.
We got our requisitions, we do have that from the budget standpoint, but we can't make payment, and the vendors are.
Can you create a PO? No,
Yes,
Yeah.
we did,
that's good.
yes, we were able to do that.
Anything else? Mr. Mayor?
No, ma'am.
All right, meeting adjourned, 5:21, thank you all.